Welcome to our Wellness Wednesday Health Show. I'm your host, Dr. Kala Hewlett from the Back Pain and Joint Center of Texas, where we offer non-surgical solutions for your chronic back and joint pain. And right now, we're in the middle of International Overdose Awareness Month and just a few days away from our second annual Overdose Awareness Walk. Overdose continues to be a huge epidemic that impacts so many. And I've learned that it doesn't discriminate. It affects all walks of life, all races, all denominations, all income levels, right? And if you were listening to this and you're under the age of 50, or you have a brother or sister or a child under the age of 50, know that right now in this country, overdose is the #1 cause of death for adults under the age of 50. We just don't hear about it on the media. There's not a lot of attention through news outlets. So it's almost like it's not happening, but know that this is very real. And we've learned that there's one segment of the population that has been significantly impacted by that. And this is our veterans. Those men and women who serve our great nation, get injured, hurt, come back, and then in trying to deal with their injuries are struggling with either pain medication addiction, opioid addiction, or other type of addictions just to cope with the injuries and pain that they've experienced in our service. So today we have a very special guest, someone who has seen this firsthand as a Navy SEAL, someone who has firsthand experience from personal injuries and injuries amongst those who he served within the service. He's also local from Willis, Texas, and currently running for U.S. Congress at these upcoming midterm elections. I want to welcome to our show, Morgan Luttrell. Morgan,
hey, thanks for having me.
Now, Morgan, you've got a very personal experience as a Navy SEAL and some of the things that you've seen and experienced. What are some of the things that you've either personally seen or personally experienced when it comes to this overdose opioid epidemic?
Well, unfortunately, it's not if but when you get hurt in the military. I was fortunate enough to serve while there were 2 wars going on, so inevitably injuries happen, injuries occur, whether or not it's in training or overseas in the theater of combat. And we seem to be getting away from this but back then the quickest remedy for acute or chronic pains was to mask those with painkillers, if you will, or at least to take the edge off. Unknowingly or unwittingly, unfamiliar with long-term effects. So with my time in the service and then after, while in my studies studying addiction in veterans, what we were seeing is unfortunately it was a slippery slope. And I don't think initially there was any ill will or intent when it came to the medical space into the veteran or the active space, but it just kind of boiled and manifested and went out of control. And then we are where we are today, where it's a pandemic and an unknown one, unfortunately. But with the types and a gravity or the gravitas of the injuries occurred, there was a need for those opioids or those synthetic painkillers in order to keep keep us, if you will, going. I'll speak from my personal experiences. In my helicopter crash and my injuries, pain was, I needed something to take the edge off. And I actually looked up one day and found myself in a place that I was very uncomfortable with and went and just completely went cold turkey. And man, I got to tell you, I was, in my opinion, on way too many painkillers. And I suffered through that and never looked back. I've never taken one ever since. And that was in 2009.
Wow. With that, I think just like you said, all the doctors I've met, they have a caring heart and they want to help. It's just, we don't know what we don't know. And so here we are, fast forward, we're 2022 and we're like, man, hindsight's always 2020, as they say, but it's something that we have to confront and deal with. One of the stats that I've seen recently is that there's between 22 and 24 veterans that commit suicide every day. Many of those are from overdose. Is that something that you see amongst those you've served with?
Yeah, unfortunately, yes. The numbers in the spec war community, in relative to Marines and Army and the other branches, is not as prevalent, if you will. But they do exist. And the number, in my opinion, is much larger than 25. I think they're actually higher, low 30s, just given the areas that the veterans live, and those numbers may not have gotten reported. So you can take 22 as maybe an average. 22 to 24 is maybe the mean on amount of individuals that are taking their lives per day, either opioid overdoses or otherwise. And you got to ask yourself, like, why and how is this happening? Because the overdose and the suicide rate of active individuals is not the same as those in the veteran space. And so where's the miss? What are we missing? Is it because, it's hard to tell a veteran when they're taking their painkillers and say, hey, look, man, you shouldn't be doing that. And like for me, I've actually had people look me in the face when I told them, like, hey, you don't know what kind of pain I'm in. Well, I used to think that was true. And then it got to a point where it's like, I don't care what kind of pain you're in. You're taking too much of that crap. I think we were able to police ourselves up while you're still in the active space, because you're in and amongst the team and you have to be able to function at a very high level. And you can't do that when you overwhelm your system with those narcotics. And then when you step away from the service, so again, away from the tribe, and you're alone, and that's where the demons start to settle in, and that's where kind of the addiction rate really has an exponential growth rate. And I don't think we do a good enough job of monitoring that. Again, I think that we as a country are really trying to take a hard look at it, but I just don't think it's. And that's for the veterans. I mean, just think of how many of the kids that are. You threw the numbers out. I mean, there's babies dying.
Yeah, we have fentanyl coming across the border. There's all types of overdose, and again, just the stats of number one death under the age of 50. Gosh, that is just eye-opening. And I know even our community, we have teenagers that I know have been impacted and deaths that have occurred in recent months.
Yeah, I think it was 2 months ago. They seized enough fentanyl to kill everybody in the country on one seizure. Kill everyone in the country.
Right. It's just mind-blowing that what's happening right now. Morgan, as I know you have several things that you're passionate about, and that's one of the reasons that you're running for U.S. Congress is to make a difference and make a change in our great nation. When it comes to kind of this overdose and the addiction and this crisis we find ourselves, is there a certain area or two that you find or you think that we can bring more attention, awareness, and help make a change?
Absolutely, yes. To answer your question, and I'm of the mind, to 2022, this technological advancements we have in our country, and the brilliant scientists and doctors that are in this country that work in the medical field. You can't tell me that there's not any way that we can invent or create a pain-killing capability that doesn't have the addictive and proverbial ride, if you will. You can't tell me that. I mean, when I was in Washington, D.C., we were looking. We were bouncing our research ideas off of our scientists and medical personnel. Like, hey, look, is this a possibility, given technology today, that we can create a molecule that has the same pain-killing capabilities, but not the addictive qualities, and completely erase this pandemic altogether? You can't tell me we can't do that. And what does that look like? It's best for both worlds. You still have. Pharmaceutical companies still have a win because you still have to have a drug in place that would do this, but then everyone else benefits from it because, again, we've removed these, not only the opioid compounds, if you will, but the synthetic ones, which are far worse than the natural kind.
Yeah, no, and I love that. That's one thing that you're passionate about. I know amongst many others, as far as bringing awareness and attention and just helping to dedicate the eyes, the energy, and even the resources needed to combat that. Like you said, it's 2022. We have cars that drive themselves. I think there's definitely some advancements in healthcare that have probably been made or in the process that can be brought to the masses.
It can be done.
Yeah, I love that. Morgan, I know you're super busy, and thank you for making a few minutes today. Now, Morgan, you're going to be able to join us. I think you're coming out this Saturday at our overdose walk, right?
I'll be there, myself and my two sons. Okay. I'm educating them early on this problem.
Man, you're awesome, Morgan. So Morgan's going to be there this Saturday, 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. We're going to be walking 4,000 steps to remember the 4,000 lives that were lost here in Texas just alone last year due to overdose. We're also going to have Judge Wayne Mack, who is local to our community and sees firsthand through his court some of the tragic effects of overdose that impact the lives of so many. So, Morgan, thank you. We will see you this Saturday. guys, again, if you're listening to this, please share this with those that you know, those that you love, those that you care about. Someone may be struggling with overdose, with an addiction problem, and you may not even be aware of it. So listen, watch for those signs, and please come out, join us. There's going to be several different local organizations, a lot of nonprofits there as well, that are dedicated to the space of helping overcome addiction, helping battle overdose, and just really helping to save the lives of those we love and care about. So we see you guys Saturday. Until then, be well.